Christopher Kimball was the face of Cook's Country for years, but when he suddenly departed in a flurry of lawsuits, everyone involved suddenly found their roles up in the air. There's no way to get around the elephant in the room: Christopher Kimball's messy departure from Cook's Country in 2016. Kimball served as the host of the show from its inception in 2008, but he was forced out after season 9 in 2016. He also left the parent show America's Test Kitchen at the same time. Kimball responded by creating his own cooking show called Milk Street. That led to a lawsuit from the producers of Cook's Country, who claimed that Kimball was ripping off his old show and using proprietary information to do it. The parties eventually settled in 2019, but it's safe to say there's no love lost between Cook's Country and the former face of their franchise. Julia Collin Davison has been one of the mainstays of Cook's Country from the beginning. That made her a natural choice to take over when Kimball left Cook's Country, and she has thrived in the role. While some fans were reluctant to accept the change, others thought she and co-host Bridget Lancaster were better without Kimball's presence overshadowing things. It's helped that she and Lancaster have a natural chemistry on screen, and between them, Cook's Country has a more relaxed vibe than it did in the Kimball days. Enough fans liked what they saw from Davison for her to get her own show, Julia at Home, which started in December 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic, when everyone was spending far more time at home. Julia at Home is still going strong today, and Davison still films the entire show in her home kitchen. While Julia Collin Davison's extra side gig came on camera, Bridget Lancaster opted for a microphone. She founded Proof, an America's Test Kitchen podcast about the stories behind food, which is now in its 16th season. At the time it launched, the podcast was a bit of a gamble for America's Test Kitchen. Fortunately, having a recognizable host in Lancaster and an interesting premise made the podcast a hit. Even though some America's Test Kitchen fans still missed Kimball, they didn't hold that against Lancaster. Proof became a hit, and it exposed the channel to a new audience who stayed because of Lancaster's knowledge and presentation. Lancaster eventually stepped back from Proof, which now has Kevin Pang as host, but fans can still enjoy her storytelling on Cook's Country or in one of the cookbooks she's worked on.
We love stories. So you may find that great story in a novel or a biography, or sometimes even in a cookbook.
After the departure of magazine editor-in-chief Tucker Shaw, Cook's Country brought in food journalist Toni Tipton-Martin. During a book tour, she gained attention when she suggested that Cook's Country could be a great way to tell the American food story through a modern lens. That remark resonated with the powers that be at Cook's Country, who brought her on board. These days, Tipton-Martin's influence on Cook's Country is clear from the show's more detailed stories behind its recipes. It's still well known for teaching home cooks how to make the foods they love, but now those meals come with a backstory that gives them a bit of education as well. Natalie Estrada appeared on the show from June 2018 to November 2019. As a self-employed chef before coming to Cook's Country, she was used to educating others on different foods. Her specialties include building meal plans around dietary restrictions, making the program a natural fit. During her time at Cook's Country, she focused on recipes that contained 10 ingredients or less, putting emphasis on regional favorites. After leaving Cook's Country, she moved on to wine education at California's Sequoia Grove Winery. Basically, she's using her expertise to help customers shop for wine and find the right ones for their personal tastes. Cooking with alcohol and pairing it with finished dishes takes time and experience. Sequoia Grove has a long history of providing customers with interesting recipes, and it also produces some of the best wines in Napa Valley. Even though she's no longer appearing on camera, it's clear that Estrada landed on her feet in a job that she understands well. So much of Cook's Country starts with the people behind the scenes who test the recipes, and one of those people on that job is Erin McMurrer. For more than 20 years, she served as the director of the Test Kitchen for Cook's Country and America's Test Kitchen, occasionally appearing on camera prior to the departure of Christopher Kimball. McMurrer was promoted to the role of director of culinary production for America's Test Kitchen, and while she still makes an appearance here or there on America's Test Kitchen, it's been several years since she last popped in front of the camera for Cook's Country. Sounds like she has her hands full running things behind the scenes.
Our team, Kitchen Operations, really is here to support everybody's needs.
One of the best ways for home cooks to save money and eat healthier has always been to buy and use produce that's in season. In 2021, Cook's Country opted to capitalize on that desire by using Ashley Moore's knowledge of food in a new YouTube series called Today's Special. Today's Special took common ingredients that home cooks were likely to have on hand or easily acquire, such as pizza dough or rotisserie chicken, and make them the star of their meal. Moore prepared 2 ways to use the star ingredient of the day in a 10-minute segment, making it easy for home cooks to plan based off her demonstration. However, Today's Special might have run out of steam after a 2-year run. No new episodes have been produced for the series since April 2023. Watch any how-to style cooking show and you'll notice a lot of helpful tips for how you prepare your meal. Some might focus on how to prepare staples such as a roux. Others might include how to use a specific ingredient, such as sugar, to maximize flavor. Lan Lam understands these cooking techniques and how they can help home cooks, and she's made that her focus on her YouTube series Technically, which launched in 2023 under the America's Test Kitchen umbrella after Lam had appeared on Cook's Country for one season. Technically covers some of the basics for home cooks that make such a difference when you're preparing a meal. In her series, Lam has covered things such as how to follow a recipe correctly, using water to brown your meat, and ways to get the most use out of your microwave. When Christopher Kimball left Cook's Country, his longtime right-hand man Jack Bishop stayed, and he's now the jack of all trades at both Cook's Country and America's Test Kitchen, having a hand in virtually everything that the shows and the magazines produce. Whether it's the main idea of a Cook's Country episode or something as simple as what oils to use in a recipe, Bishop is always available to offer his expertise from years of working with food. Bishop is a self-taught cook who has been with the company since the days when it was just a magazine back in the late 1980s. When the America's Test Kitchen television show launched in 2001, Bishop admitted that he didn't have high expectations, believing that nobody would watch a bunch of editors talking about their work. Clearly, that wasn't one of his better predictions, which he's been quite happy to be wrong about. With more than 600 episodes produced and Bishop present for all of them, it's hard to imagine Cook's Country without his presence.
Our job is to educate, to inspire, to empower people with information.
Food is both universal and regional, and one of the best things about travel is exploring the world through regional delights. For example, Colorado has become one of the best places to try Mexican-inspired cuisine, while Green Hatch Chiles make New Mexico a must-visit for foodies who can handle the heat. Bryan Roof's YouTube series On the Road, which spun out of his Cook's Country On the Road segments, explores the United States and checks out the foods that make the country worth exploring. Roof goes around the United States to explore both well-known foods and a few lesser-known regional specialties that are worth learning from and eating for yourself. With Cook's Country offering a fuller picture of the story of each recipe than ever, Roof's work offers a detailed backstory that appeals to chefs and travel lovers alike. Roof's still a regular on Cook's Country, but he doesn't appear in the studio segments or on America's Test Kitchen as often as he did before On the Road premiered. That's understandable, as it takes a while for Roof to get to his destinations and complete his filming. He tends to produce a batch of episodes at a time, depending on where his travels take him. Tucker Shaw was originally the man behind the scenes, responsible for putting out the recipes into the Cook's Country magazine as the editor-in-chief. Even though he wasn't the main face of the show, he still made appearances on camera. He also was responsible for several of the food hacks and secret ingredients that made their way into Cook's Country, mainly because of his philosophy that you should always follow a recipe exactly the first time because you'll learn something. After you've made it once, Shaw believes you can begin to tinker and find how it works best for you. These days, Shaw is a full-time freelance writer. He left Cook's Country so he would have time to write his latest novel, When You Call My Name, which he published in 2022. He's also a regular writer for the Bitman Project, another food-centric website. Dan Souza specializes in explaining to America's Test Kitchen viewers the science of popular cooking techniques. He excels at explaining things like why homemade ice cream needs to contain between 10 to 16% butterfat, how you can use science to make better sandwiches like tuna salad, and the best way to fry up plantains. And that's the thinking behind his What's Eating Dan series on YouTube. In addition to still being a regular on America's Test Kitchen, Souza has hosted the spin-off What's Eating Dan for several years on the America's Test Kitchen platform, exploring everything that fans might want to know about why food tastes the way it does. Souza explains the reasons behind different flavors, which can open doors for cooks to take Cook's Country recipes in their own direction.